First of all, we will know what is inflammation. What is inflammation? Next, we will discuss what are the signs of inflammation and types of inflammation. This video will discuss these three simple topics: what is inflammation, signs of inflammation, and types of inflammation. For example, this is our hand. So inflammation is what? Inflammation is a physical condition. So it is a physical condition in our body. It happens to our body. Physical condition in which any part of body, for example, this is our hand, in which any part of body what it will get? It will get redness, swelling, hot, and pain. Redness, swelling, hot, and pain. This due to the reason of this due to an injury or infection. So this is the definition of our inflammation. Inflammation is a physical condition which happen any part of our body, and what will happen? Redness. It will become redness, swelling will be there, hot will be there, and pain will feel the pain. For example, this is a part of our body in our hand. If any injury or any infection occurs in this part, then what happens? Infection and injury in this part of the body will become red. This first character, redness, it will become somewhat red, this redness. And next, the swelling will occur, swelling will be occur, and if you touch, you will feel hot. So third point, and also you will feel pain. So what is inflammation? Inflammation is a physical condition in any part of body resulting redness, swelling, hot, and pain due to injury or infection. So we can define the inflammation very simply. Inflammation is a physical condition of any part of body resulting redness, swelling, hot, and pain due to an injury or infection. So this is about definition of inflammation. So we understood what is inflammation. So types, signs of inflammation. Signs. So as per our definition, we got very simple 4 points of inflammation. First is redness. Number 2 is swelling. Number 3 is hot. Number 4 is pain. And next, if more inflammation occur, loss of function of that organ, loss of function. So these are, first one we over, what is inflammation we understood, and signs of inflammation are the same thing we discuss in definition. Redness. Why the redness occur? Why? When any inflammation will occur in that position due to any injury or any infection, vasodilation will occur. Vasodilation. Vasodilation means what? Vasodilation. Suppose this is a blood vessels in a particular region, and this blood vessel will dilate. Diameter of the blood vessel will increase. That is called dilation. Dilation. Arteriole will dilate. So this is the blood will flow, so it will dilate. Blood vessels will dilate in particular. That is called vasodilation. So due to this vasodilation, what happened? That increase the area will happen and increase blood flow. Blood flow. So when is a particular dilation is dilated, particular area increase the diameter and it become very thin and more amount of the blood will flow, and we know that in the blood color is mainly red, and due to this more blood flow and vasodilation, redness is result in a particular area. What? Redness. Next thing, swelling. So first part, vasodilation and increased blood flow. Vasodilation and increased blood flow, which is result of redness. Same both thing will happen. After then what happen? There are exudation of fluid and exudate. So in particular region, exudation. This fluid will exudate from the blood to particular tissue, and exudation of fluid. So in swelling what happened? Vasodilation happened, increased blood flow and increased exudation of fluid. So fluid will release to this tissue, exudate from this dilated part. So that will result swelling. That will result swelling. Third point, which is called hot. Sign of inflammation, hot. Why hot happen? Due to this exudation, damage of the tissue will occur. Damage of the tissue in part, and they will release chemical mediators which are called inflammatory chemical substances which are called inflammatory mediator. So due to the increased inflammatory mediator, you will feel hot. Increased inflammatory mediator and pain. What is the pain? Some inflammatory mediators will be there, and from here nerves are connected, and due to these inflammatory mediators and this our nerve, afferent nerve will get, due to the inflammatory mediator here, what will happen? Receptor, sensory receptor will are present in the particular region, and inflammatory mediators are released, and which will stimulate our sensory receptor, nociceptive receptor, which are called nociceptive or pain receptor, and you will feel pain in particular region. And if this continues more, what will happen? This loss of function, we cannot properly move the hand. These are the signs of inflammation. So what are the signs of inflammation? First sign is redness, which is due to the vasodilation and increased blood flow. Swelling. Why swelling will occur? Due to the vasodilation, increased blood flow, and after then exudation of fluid will occur. Exudation of fluid, which will cause the swelling. Hot. In that particular inflammatory region, vasodilation, increased blood flow, then exudation of fluid, and third step what happens? Some chemical substances which are called inflammatory mediator, mainly prostaglandins, leukotrienes and leukotriene, which are released and which cause the hot. And pain, this inflammatory mediator, prostaglandin, leukotrienes or other substances which are released, which will activate the sensory receptor, and we will feel the pain. And last some cases, loss of function will take place. That's a sign of inflammation. So we discuss what is inflammation and sign of inflammation. Now types of inflammation we will discuss. What are the types of inflammation? Types of inflammation is commonly two types. Types of inflammation is commonly two types. Acute inflammation and chronic inflammation. There are two types of inflammation. What is acute inflammation? Another is called chronic inflammation. So what is acute inflammation? If inflammation is very less time, inflammation occur less time, some minute to few days, some minute to days, very few days, some minute to days, then it is called acute inflammation. Chronic inflammation, longer duration. Duration is longer duration, days to years. Days to years. This is called chronic inflammation. So acute inflammation less time, duration is less, it occurs generally minute to days, and chronic inflammation is longer duration, days to years, long time inflammation will occur. In acute inflammation, this is non-specific immunoresponse. Here is no immunoresponse are not specific, but in case of chronic inflammation, specific, sometimes specific immunoresponse will produce, like rheumatoid arthritis, gout, or inflammatory bowel syndrome. These are called specific immunoresponse. Next, the difference between acute inflammation and chronic inflammation. In acute inflammation, proteins are exudate. Protein are exudate. Due to the what swelling will occur, due to the protein exudation will occur. In case of chronic, exudations of cells and fibroblast. Cells mainly macrophages, exudations macrophages. But when monocytes will enter to the tissue, it is called macrophages. So macrophages will occur. Next, this in case of acute inflammation, more the cell, inflammatory cells, basophil and neutrophils are involved. Neutrophils, basophils and neutrophils. And here in chronic inflammation, mainly lymphocytes and fibroblasts cells are involved. Basophils and neutrophils cellular. Another difference between acute inflammation and chronic inflammation, occasionally acute inflammation produces necrosis. Occasionally, sometimes it happens necrosis, it is not severe, but in chronic inflammation, necrosis result. Damage of cell or particular tissue. So these are the types of inflammation, acute inflammation and chronic inflammation. Very simple, fast definition. Acute inflammation, with the duration is very short duration. It happens, inflammation occurs due to an injury or an infection, some minutes to some few days. That is called acute inflammation. But chronic inflammation, it happens for longer duration, days to years. Acute inflammation is non-specific immunoresponse, but chronic inflammation having some specific immunoresponse, some immunoglobulins will occurs. For example, bronchitis, bronchial inflammation, that is specific immunoglobulin E is mediated. So like some specific chronic inflammation, some specific immunoresponse will be there. In acute inflammation, proteins are exudated, but in chronic inflammation, macrophages and fibroblasts are exudated. And in acute inflammation, the cells which will come to the inflammations are more basophil and neutrophil WBC cells, but in chronic these are lymphocyte and fibroblast. And acute inflammation lasts some time, occasionally produce the necrosis of particular area, but every chronic inflammation they will produce the necrosis. This is up to general introduction of inflammation.